Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Build Your Copywriting Business podcast. Hey there, Kate.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Okay, guys. Today, we are going to dig into problem solving. The fact of the matter is that as much as we love this career and as much as we love building our own businesses, building our own careers, being in charge of all of that, it's not always going to be smooth sailing. This is still real life. Yes. Exactly. And stuff will come up. The challenge is that I think for pretty much every human being, the challenge is that when things go wrong, the tendency often is to panic. And to
Freak out!
Le freak, c'est chic. But unfortunately, freaking out is not chic. In fact, it is the opposite of chic. And it's going to either, if not hold you stuck in a place of panic, it might hold you back because you're not taking actions that could get you back in line with where you need to be in your business. So today, we are going to give you a set of tools to look at your business and figure out what the problems are and figure out exactly how to solve those problems.
Mm-hmm. Quite frankly, this framework can be used for basically anything in life where there's problem solving. We're going to focus on copywriting scenarios, but do know that. I feel like this is a universal tool.
Yes, I agree. I will use this myself when I'm puzzling through things on the other brands, when I'm puzzling through things just in life in general. I completely agree. Good point, Kate. Okay, so the first thing to start out with when you're going, oh no, I have this, and we'll talk about different potential issues that you could come across as examples. But the first thing, when you notice that something is not going according to plan in your business, maybe here I am talking about examples right now, but maybe you're realizing you're making less than you thought you would be making, or you're making less than you need to be making or want to be making, or you had been getting a lot of work, and then all of a sudden you notice that projects are finishing up, and there's no additional work coming in to backfill all that space.
You're posting a ton on social media, but you're feeling like nothing's coming through from that effort and that work that you're doing. Mm-hmm. Or maybe you turned in a bunch of copywriting projects and it feels like every single one of them has a ton of edits from your clients, and you're just starting to question, am I even cut out for this? Is this even right for me? Or my favorite, you haven't taken a vacation in a while, and you just start to question whether copywriting is the career for you. Believe me, I do that about once every, 3 years or so. I'm due. Watch out, Nikki. I'm due.
Super. Yeah, that's the Kate Sijar's way. Maybe I should just leave this completely.
Maybe just become a veterinarian. No.
Maybe take a vacation.
Yeah, maybe take a vacation.
Which is not to say that there aren't always going to be times that I joke about this, that I fantasize about working at a bread shop. There's wherever you are in your life, you're going to have amazing days, and some days you're going to be like, I just don't want to do this anymore. And then I fantasize about going and working in a bread shop where all you have to do is ask, do you want this sliced or not? And then you give them their bread.
But then you use this framework and you realize that you actually love copywriting. Yeah. It's not copywriting's fault.
Oh, I can solve this. Yes, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So whatever the problem is, again, this is applicable to many, many things. The first thing is to start by viewing it objectively and asking questions that will get you there objectively.
And not to even be more, this might seem obvious, but I feel like even the first step is just recognizing it, right? Like that you're feeling this feeling of like, ah! Usually it sounds like that. It's a panic, it's an SOS, it's anxiety, it's an elevated heart rate, it's discomfort. And so even just stopping to like understand that you're feeling a little off and, oh yeah, I'm feeling crummy. Like, I think that's even like I know that sounds silly, but just starting to notice when this actually happens in your life so that you can then go on to step one of addressing it.
That's such a great point, because it's an indicator that when you're starting to feel crummy, you're starting to feel nervous, you're starting to feel, a little weird. It's an indicator that maybe there's something that needs to be changed or fixed or dealt with. And also, you can feel those feelings, but you don't need to linger in those feelings. As you're going through this process, as much as possible, we're going to recommend that you, yes, if you're feeling anxious, you're feeling, say, all right, you know what? I feel anxious and I that's fine. But for the next half hour, I'm just going to focus on what I'm doing here. I can go ahead and feel anxious again in a half hour, 30 minutes. I can come back to that anxiety, which sounds very silly, but it really works to be like, all right, I feel anxious, because often there's something in us that's like, well, you have to feel anxious so you can solve the problem. That's not actually how it works. Being anxious doesn't solve anything. Worrying doesn't solve anything. But if your mind is already thinking you have to be anxious to solve it, you can say, all right, no problem, mind. That's fine. You can be anxious again in a half hour. But for this half hour, we are going to focus on this process that Kate and Nikki took us through. The first thing is to be completely objective. What do you know for sure about the situation? What do you know are absolute facts? So going back to the example of, well, I worked a lot last month, but I didn't actually make that much. What are the facts? Facts would be, okay, I worked 41 hours that first week. I worked 42 hours the second week. I worked 38 hours the third week. I worked 36 hours the fourth, something like that. And facts would be, all right, and this was the income for the entire month. So those are the facts. What are not facts are, oh, the client just made me feel so guilty for not taking this work on, or oh, well, I was afraid to say no. Those are your feelings, right? But they're not objective outside of you.
They're not necessarily data points, black and white data points.
Yes, and your feelings are valid, certainly, but they're not completely objective. Those are subjective.
They're
feelings.
Moldable. Your feelings, I know we don't always use this power, but we do have the power to change how we feel about things. That we obviously, your initial reaction, can you help that? Not necessarily until you feel whatever way, but then to shift your mindset to say, okay, this felt crummy, but here's how I'm going to shift this. So we do, versus facts, which are like, you can't change the number that you earned in a month. You can't say, I made $5 extra. It didn't. Yeah. If that didn't happen. So I don't know if that's helpful, I guess, in terms of thinking of facts versus our feelings, of things that are actually can be molded, can be shifted, can be changed, versus things that just, if you worked 41 hours last week, you can't add 5 extra hours that you worked last week when it's already in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. They're things that there's no other way of interpreting them, right? Like when we talk about feelings, it's so funny how feelings can affect situation. Like if you're having a great day and a client shoots you an email and says, hey, do you have 5 minutes to hop on a call? If you're having a great day, you'd be like, yeah, absolutely. I got time. No problem.
Chat with this client.
If you're having a crummy day and a client says, hey, do you have 5 minutes to hop on a call? You might go, oh no. Oh my gosh, what's going on? Something went wrong. It's all interpretations, right? But so for this first level, you're starting out with, what are the objective facts about the situation? Or, for example, if like, okay, well, I've been working with 4 clients. Client 1's project ends on June 2nd. Client 2's project ends on June whenever. Do I have new work starting X date? And these are the amount of, it's all just the objective facts, because that's where you're going to start out with. You're getting the lay of the land. The next question is to ask yourself, all right, what is the problem here? Or what am I looking to solve? I won't even say what's working, but truly what problem am I having with this? So for example, when we go back to well, I worked this amount of time, and I if you're in your head panicking about like, well, I worked these hours and I feel like I should have made more money, looking at the objective, I worked this number of hours that month, and that's the amount of money that I made. Maybe the problem is, okay, I made that amount of money, but I need to be making, or I want to be making, whatever that number is, I want to be making X amount for working those same hours. So the problem, you want to keep that as objective as possible as well.
Yeah. And you might have layered problems in the sense that there might be multiple problems. So for example, if I need to make this much money is the problem. You certain number you have to hit to pay your bills and mortgage or whatever. You might also though say, problem, I worked 50 hours and I can really only work 40 or whatever it was. So that might be another problem in terms of the amount of time you're working.
Yeah, as you're looking through this, look at all of the objective elements of this problem. What makes this a problem? And then go through, and I call them symptoms, but I guess it's more kind of the factors that go into it. All right, well, what got me to this place? Well, this client asked for this additional work. Okay, well, I talked to this client and I didn't realize that they thought this project included this, but it actually included, but this part of the project was actually a lot more than I realized it would be. Start listing out. And again, objectively, not like the client made me feel, or if you're thinking, well, the client made me feel guilty, so I did it. The objective, yes, exactly. The symptom.
You didn't hold a boundary.
Yeah. What happened was the client made you feel guilty, and what you did was, because what you did is the actual fact, right? So again, we're trying to set that anxiety and set any guilt or set anything aside so that you can look objectively at what actually happened or is happening in the scenario. All of the elements. This is the main problem, but what are all of the elements that may have contributed to that? And again, you're setting aside any emotion. The client made me feel this. Yes, I understand, but we're looking for what objectively happened because of it. Because as you start to list out these problems and list out the symptoms, the factors that contribute to those problems, you're going to start being able to come up with what I would then call hypotheses or possible scenarios to fix it, right? If you're looking at your schedule and you're going, okay, well, I worked X amount of hours and I didn't make enough. Okay, so what possible scenarios do we have? One possible scenario, and again, just list out the possible scenarios. You don't hang your hat on anything. Certainly add notes if you want to. One possible scenario might be that you're not charging enough for your hourly work, right? That's certainly one possible scenario. Another possible scenario is that you're working for hours that you're not charging for, right? So client work comes in and you just or client calls and you didn't factor that into your project or any number of those things. Another possible scenario, you didn't factor in how big this project was going to be when you were figuring out your rate for it. It turned out that it's actually a much bigger project, or maybe you forgot to factor in editing or forgot to factor in meetings or that kind of thing. Another
timeline could have gone off, and then you said maybe no to another client project because you thought this timeline was a certain timeline, or you didn't build in buffer time and sleep on it time for various things. And so the timeline got crunched, or it got, again, expanded because scope changed, and maybe you didn't submit a change of scope of work if the project became bigger than it actually was. Clients started asking for more than what you actually agreed to.
Yes, exactly. So list out all of these possible kind of hypotheses for what could have happened. And then again, go through them objectively. Like, is it true that I'm just not charging an hourly rate? Well, or not charging a high enough hourly rate? Well, when I figure out my project rate, I use my hourly rate of 65. So, and that's my standard rate. That should be enough for me to be happy with, to be making plenty. Again, these are just possible numbers, whatever your number is. But okay, so then it's not that the hourly rate isn't high enough. So great hypothesis. We're going to set that one to the side. Okay, evaluate the next one. Is it that, I forget exactly what our next one was, but is it that I didn't factor in meeting times or all of these kinds of things?
Emails that take 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, and really take a look at your time, because if you're actually working 40 hours a week, charging $65, and your income doesn't match that of 40 times 65, I don't know what that number is. Let's get a calculator. I could do that math, but it's on the spot. So $2,600 for whatever that time, a week, I guess, 40 hours a week, $65. If you didn't have $2,600, obviously minus anything you're setting aside for taxes, we're talking gross income here. If that's not accounted for in your numbers, then something's off. If you only have $1,800, then okay, that's a problem to me. Would say you are missing their holes. You are not accounting for a certain number of hours that you should be accounting for. Or you think it feels like you're working 40 hours, but maybe you're not actually working 40 hours if that's, what you end up billing, because that can feel like it a lot of times. There are days like right now, we'll get off this recording this podcast and I'll be like, Friday's done, right? I worked 8 hours. No,
Excuse me? Just kidding.
I've worked 3 right now. It's only noon. So it can honestly, it can feel that way a lot of times where you're like, oh, I've put in this amount of time. And no, maybe it's just that was a mentally taxing project and you need to account for that.
That's a great point. That's another data point. You may be making an assumption about how many hours you're working. You may be going, well, I worked 9 to 6 every single day. Go back and take a look. Like, how many times did you actually pick up your phone? And then before you realize it, you've been on Instagram for 45 minutes. Or, well, yeah, I was. But then after I got off that client call, I made some lunch and then I did some laundry. And then I came back to my desk an hour and a half later. And we're not saying certainly that you have to be working every single hour.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Do those things. Take a break. But it needs to be factored in. You may be thinking, I worked 45 hours. And when you actually look at the number of hours that you worked, it could be closer to 30. But that's another great data point. And again, it's objective. How many hours did you actually spend working? And don't get us wrong. Yes, some of that time should be spent like looking out the window and thinking. Like brainstorming for client stuff, going, all right, I need to think about this, going for a walk around the block. And yes, quite frankly, sometimes I will, when I'm concepting or doing, I will do laundry or something just to do something different, but I am thinking. But there are also plenty of times during the day, and I'm working on it, we all are, where I get lost in Instagram or I get lost in, all of these kinds of things. But that's another objective data point. When you have all of these pieces and you're looking at them objectively, this is where you can start to make decisions that will change the outcome, right? It's only when you know what is really happening in a situation that you can look at it objectively and go, oh, okay, I see, this is a problem here. Or, we were talking with one of our students and she said, no, I absolutely have boundaries with my clients. I'm working a ton, working way too much, but I absolutely have boundaries with my clients. And what it turned out was she had boundaries, but she wasn't enforcing the boundaries. And I say this with so much love. We love her, and it's a learning opportunity for her and for all of us. But having boundaries is one thing, but not enforcing them is a totally other thing. It's if you say to a client, yeah, I'm not going to take that. I can't take this work if it comes in past Wednesday. But if they give it to you on Thursday and they say, is there any way that you can fit it in? And then you fit it in, guess what? Those aren't boundaries. And that is how that's how a 40-hour week can become a 50-hour week. So again, these are things that to look at objectively. And then these give you the opportunity to go, okay, where can I make changes to solve these problems? So again, it's what in each of these, what have I truly identified? And it like Kate was saying, sometimes a single problem can have a bunch of different factors that add to it, that contribute to it. So with each one of the things that like, okay, absolutely, that is one of the factors. No, it's not my hourly rate. My hourly rate is fine. However, the way that I'm scheduled or the way that I'm estimating my projects, I have a problem there. Okay, well, the time that I've been thinking that I'm working is not actually all work time. I've actually been kind of wasting a little bit of time and thinking of that as work time instead of
on the other hand, not accounting for all of that work time and saying, oh, yep, this is what it took me to do the project. Oh, I found all of these other 15 minutes here, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, this email. Oh, that adds up to a couple of hours worth of time over the course of a project that I'm just not accounting for. So then knowing how to readjust your project rate when you're quoting to actually account for all of those hours.
Exactly. Or I've been, oh, you know what? I've been accommodating clients. I've been doing things outside of the boundaries that I set. I've been doing kind of special rush jobs that I haven't charged for as rush jobs, or I've been doing extra edits after they've approved it just because I'm a nice person, but you're doing all this extra work that you're not getting paid for. And as you go through and see where all these problems are, it's going to become very clear exactly what is contributing to this main problem. And like we said, this is then you go, all right, this is the hypothesis. I know that this is contributing to it. So what do I now need to do instead? And that's kind of the last step is okay, my hourly rates are good. However, I've been seeing that as I've been factoring in my project rate, I have not been factoring in adequate times for meetings. I haven't been factoring in adequate time for brainstorming. I haven't been factoring in adequate time for edits or for any number of things. Or this client, and I kind of had a sense for it when I had the kickoff call, but this client needs a lot more handholding. And I didn't factor that in because I was afraid, because I really, really wanted to land this client. But this client needs a lot more handholding. So I need to make sure to factor that. I need to listen to my gut, and I need to factor that in. That's one element. And again, it's each one of these things as you identify objectively what the problem was, what the symptom was, the factor, then you can say, all right, how do I fix it? What is the step to take? And yes, some of them are going to be like, oh yeah, I do need to factor that. And some of it, like we were talking about boundaries, some of that might be a little bit less comfortable. I mean, we all want to be like, we want people to like us. But if we're not enforcing our boundaries, if we're working well beyond the hours that we told our clients that we would work, or if we're doing extra work for our clients just to be nice, that's going to compound, and that's going to end up with us working way too much for way too little.
Yeah. And quite frankly, I would make the shift from, we all want to be liked, yes. But when you're thinking about your clients, you want to be respected by your clients. You want them to respect you for your work. And as part of that, as a professional. And so if you start thinking of that, it makes enforcing the boundaries a little more comfortable, because you think, okay, I want my client to respect me. And by enforcing my boundary, they will respect me because I'm enforced. And if they don't, that's not a client you want to work with. We always say that. But if you're working with good clients, and most of them are, they understand too, because they have boundaries they should be enforcing. So if anything, they'll look at that and say, wow, good for them for actually, I need to do that. I see that with myself, with working when our teammates set boundaries. It's like, oh yeah, like that's awesome. Good for them. It's not something your clients are going to fault you for by any means, especially as long as you're communicating it up front of, here's how my process is. And if you don't get this to me by this date, then I won't be able to make this deadline, and they miss their deadline. You're perfectly in line enforcing it because you already communicated that to them. So I would make the shift from, I want my clients to respect me, not like me.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is too, is that yes, when you maybe bend over backwards and do something special for a client, they may say, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Certainly they will appreciate it. However, as soon as your client, and they might not even do this consciously, but as soon as a client knows that your boundaries are not firm, then they're going to push it a little bit more. I've been at companies where someone will say, oh yeah, so-and-so said they needed to have it by Wednesday. And I've heard someone say, yeah, but they said that last time and they absolutely turned it around for us anyway. So just send it through when we've got it. They'll probably be able to do that for us. That's just how human beings work, right? But those boundaries help your clients stay on track, and they help ensure that you don't get overloaded, because you can't be the one to always take on the catch up for everybody else. First of all, you don't have time to. You have other clients. Even if you don't have time to, that time is allocated in different ways. You do not have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to just take on client work. You have to have a life. And if client work is always bleeding into your living hours, you have a problem.
Yeah, and quite frankly, I know we used as an example the problem is that I made this much money and I need this much money to meet my goals or what I need to live. The opposite, though, is often I feel like using this system for you're hitting your financial goals just fine. You have too much work, though.
Yeah.
And so when you have too much work, you're going to want to go through this process as well to say, how did this happen? How did I get too much work that I'm working, even if you're not working, crazy hours, but it just feels like too much work in a crunch space, go through this process to look at, is it the timeline? Is it the projects? What were the symptoms? Did clients come last minute? Did deadlines shift? Did project timelines shift? And what can you do then to put parameters in place so that doesn't happen moving forward? Because otherwise, this is having too much work as a spiral. People who are just starting out might not think that this is true, but it will happen to you. I promise that you will get to a point and you might think it's a one-off, but it is a spiral that's hard to get out of because you just keep saying yes to work and keep taking on work. And then you still have all of these problems and you're wondering what's going on. And sometimes the cash is nice enough to make up for that, but you're somehow burned out, miserable in some ways of like, wait, I thought I was going to have more time as a copywriter. Well, yeah, but you can.
Yeah,
you just need to go through this framework to make sure you're setting up your business in the right way.
Exactly. And you can start this process with a feeling before you get into the objective things, right? Like, I feel like I'm doing way too much posting on social media, or I feel like social media is taking over my life. Okay, this is something we're going to figure it out. So objectively, what are the objective elements of this? What is the objective problem?
How much am I posting on social media? Exactly. What days of a week? How much time is it taking me to create the copy? And if you're doing the creative yourself too, all of those factors.
And what results am I getting from this?
How many leads did I get from this? How many clients did I land because of this?
Exactly. And as you look through this, you go, oh yeah, I've been spending 10 hours a week on social media and I haven't gotten a client from social media yet, or something along those lines, which of course then we look into, all right, how can I dial back my social media, if not stop it completely, or at least dial it back significantly so that I can spend more time on tasks that will actually get me. And there's another one, right? All right. Ooh, I'm feeling nervous because I don't have a lot of work coming in. Okay. What is the objective problem? Well, after next Friday, I don't have any other projects lined up. Okay. Objective truth. You're feeling nervous. We're going to set that aside for a moment. After next Friday, you don't have any projects lined up. Okay. Objective truth. You can talk about, I worked with this client and that project ended here. I worked with this client and that project ended here. Okay. So what other things? All right. I have sent out, how many pitches have I sent out? Okay. I haven't sent out any pitches. How much repitching have I done to previous clients? Okay. I haven't done any repitching to previous clients. And as you go through, it's not oh my God, what do I have to do? I have to get work coming out. When you look at it objectively, you go, oh, okay, well, I don't have any work coming in because I haven't been doing any pitching and I haven't been doing any repitching. So what do I have to do? What is my next step forward? Well, I need to do some pitching. I need to do some repitching. And even the same thing, like I've been sending out pitches and this is the panic, right? I've been sending out pitches and nobody's been getting in touch with me. Okay, great. So first of all, objectively, and this is something we see with students across our brands, right? I've been doing so much work and nobody's been getting back to me. And I'm not saying this to mock anybody because we all get in our heads and are like, I will certainly do the same thing. But I've been sending out pitches and nobody's getting back to me. Okay, well, first of all, how many pitches have you sent out? Okay. And sometimes students will be like, I've sent out 20. Often it'll be like, I sent out 5. Okay. I sent out 5. Okay. And how many follow-ups did you send? Okay. Often it will be, I haven't sent out any. Okay, well.
And how much time have you spent thinking about why they haven't gotten back to you? What time have you wasted, use that word, not actually doing anything and just kind of perseverating on, they opened it, which a lot of the software out there don't even bother because a lot of it auto opens or it is no indication. There's so many different variables that there's no point in spending time thinking about what's going on in someone's head. Yeah. What do you have control over? You have control over how many pitches you send, the follow-ups you send, how you write it, getting feedback for CCA students. You can get feedback. So
Exactly, exactly. Well, I've been sending the same pitch. Okay, have I gotten any feedback on it in the CCA group?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't gotten any feedback on it in the CCA group. But look at the objective factors. And it might be, well, I've sent out 25 pitches and I've been sending out my follow-ups and I haven't been hearing from anyone. I've been sending it to this kind of client. It may be, and first of all, maybe it's time to put your pitch in the CCA group and get some feedback, because maybe some salesiness has snuck in there that you're not even realizing. That's one of the things that we see a lot. Maybe you're sending it to clients who are you're sending it all to one type of client, and maybe it's that time of year that type of client is not going to be doing marketing stuff, or it could be any number of things. But you can't figure this out unless you're looking at it all objectively. Or, as we often see, it'll be like, well, I sent out 5 pitches and I haven't heard anything. Okay, well, first of all, how long ago was that? Did you send out those 5 pitches? Also, did you send follow-ups? Well, no, I didn't send follow-ups. Okay.
Or it's been 2 days. That's great. Like, some people need a week, 2 weeks. They need a reminder. They need that follow-up. That's why we send follow-ups. It's not going to be an instant gratification thing 99% of the time.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But whatever it ends up being, whatever the facts end up being, once you have the facts, you can figure out what you need to objectively do to move forward. Not just sit there and panic and go, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do because yes, absolutely, take a moment to feel your feelings. We're not at all saying don't feel your feelings. But when you know the objective facts, you can come up with the steps to move forward that will help you course correct a little bit. Again, whether it's I'm sending 20 pitches and I haven't gotten, okay, these are the things that you can do to move forward for. Well, I've only sent 5 pitches. Okay, well, these are the things that you can do to move forward there. But you can't make these decisions and you can't move forward in your business when you are sitting in a state of panic. Something's not working. The thing is that when it comes down to it, business is it's not magical. It's not, it's yes, luck can help, certainly. And I won't say that, there will be serendipitous times that you're talking to someone and they're like, oh my gosh, our company needs a copywriter. That will happen. But the rest of the time, at least 95% of the time, business is not magical. It's very predictable. And it actually has a lot to do with concrete actions and with numbers. In business, we call your numbers your metrics. What are your metrics? How many pitches are you sending out? How much money are you actually making per hour? How many hours are you working? How many follow-ups are you sending out?
Which, speaking of metrics, when you're doing anything, calculate your hourly rate, even for things that you're not billing clients for. So if you're spending 10 hours on social media, your hourly rate, say $65, 65 times 10 hours on social media, you're spending $650, say, a week on social media. So that's money you're spending, because that's money you're not using that time, your time, $65 an hour, to generate income. And so if that is having a return on that $650 spend, and you landed a client project through that for $2,000 or whatever, great. That was a great use of time, because you're still netting, what did I say, $2,000? So it's around $1,400, whatever. You're still, that was good use of time. But if you're doing $650, say you're doing it for a month and you've landed no projects, so $650 times 4 weeks in a month, that's thousands of dollars now that is you're spending as your business on efforts that aren't bringing you a return. So be watching this, be tracking your time, even for activities that aren't client project, revenue. Are they generating revenue, essentially? What are your activities that you're doing for your business, and is it generating revenue? So not just the work that you're tracking for clients, but all of the other things that you have to do or want to do for your business. How many hours of that times your rate, and what is the return on all of that?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The truth is that there's no problem in your business that can't be fixed. And I hope that makes everybody feel really good. Wherever you are, whatever you are facing, whatever is giving you a little bit of anxiety, there's nothing that can't be fixed. And I will also tell you that whatever your goal is, it is absolutely possible to get there. And in fact, I would say most people should have slightly higher goals. You could probably get to those higher goals even a lot faster than you think you can. It's all perfectly possible. And every I know we've been calling the problem, so I guess I should continue. But every problem, every issue,
challenge, roadblock,
hiccup, all of them can be fixed. And we wanted to bring this episode to you because as humans, the first thing that we tend to do, and some of us will stay there, is panic, is worry and go, oh, and just spend time spinning our wheels and perseverating. And that is what's not going to solve your problem. If you spend all of your time in panic, if you spend all of your time scared, if you spend all of your time worried, nothing will come from that. That is where you're going to see, if you're spending all of your time panicked and worried instead of doing things to fix those issues, that's when your problems are going to start to compound. And quite frankly, none of us can afford for any of our problems to compound. On the other hand, though, when you go, all right, I'm anxious about something. What's going on? Okay. This is what's bothering me. Set aside those feelings for a moment and then break down the objective realities, the truth, and all the possibilities. That's when you're going to be able to break through and solve your problems. And again, like Kate said, whether it's business problems or whether it's life problems, looking at the actual facts and working on the facts and working on the possibilities from the facts, that's how you're going to break through and solve those problems. So probably given you a lot to think about today, but hopefully also a lot that you can actually use. You know that we are always big on tangible, actionable, I guess maybe not tangible, but actionable things in your business. And this should be something that you come back to again and again, this process. Because again, no business is perfect, no life is perfect, stuff's going to come up. But coming back to this process again and again should help you move through any issues you face as quickly as possible. So that's what we have for you. Drop us a line if this was helpful. Leave a comment, send us a message, DM us, shoot us an email, all that kind of stuff. Let us know if this was helpful for you. And then of course with that, we will catch you guys in the next episode. Bye everybody. Like what you heard? Hit subscribe so you never miss a video. And if you're ready to take the first step toward becoming a copywriter yourself, sign up for a free video training right here.